Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for sharing this wonderful moment with all of us. This informational briefing conducted by the Committee on Public Safety, Border Safety, Military and Veterans Affairs, Mayor's Council, Infrastructures, which is Department of Public Works, Mass Transit, we welcome all of you. It is February 8, 2019. Actually 5 after 6 p.m. First notice of this information briefing was disseminated to local media outlets by electronic format on Friday, February 1st, 2019, with the second notice provided on Wednesday, February 6, 2019. Notice of this briefing was also published on the Guam Legislature's website. The purpose of this briefing is to receive recommendations from our stakeholders and also to the public of the financial reporting requirements for a game of chance at the Liberation Carnival and other village fiestas affected by Bill 2935. And I would like to introduce and name some of the senators that are here today. To my left, Kelly Mars, Senator Kelly Mars, the handsome Will Castro, bless you, and our good Senator, Telena, what's her last name? Telena Nelson. And to my right, okay, Amanda Shelton, Senator Amanda Shelton, and to next to her is Clint Rigel, and the sponsor of this particular bill is my good friend James Moylan. Thank you very much once again. Okay, make sure that whoever wants to testify to sign the list so that we can, whoever, call you one by one. Let me just say, I prepared a statement here to kind of just give you an overview of my stand on the game of chance. While I support providing the island's mayor with all the resources that they need to operate the Liberation festivities, as chairman, it is my responsibility to make sure that such accurate financial reporting requirements are included in this legislation and enacted into any law regarding game of chance. Transparency and accuracy in the reporting of all revenue generated from this activity must be the standard to ease the minds of my fellow legislators and constituents. Tonight's information briefing is an opportunity to bring all the stakeholders to the table and discuss reasonable reporting requirements so everyone can be at the same page on Bill 2935. It is not enough to do the right thing. We have to do the right thing the right way. That's why having everyone agree to strong financial monitoring is imperative prior to this bill moving forward. Okay, do we have anyone to testify? Is there anybody that wants to come up and testify? Okay, let me just go down the list here. We have Mr. Leon Guerrero. You want to start us, sir? Go ahead.
My name is Ken Leon Guerrero, and I'm here as spokesman for the Guam Citizens for Public Accountability. And I want to start off my testimony by refreshing everybody's memory on this survey that was recently released by Guam, University of Guam. And this is the survey that pointed out that the majority of the public considers corruption to be a very serious problem here on the island. And at the top of the list is political parties and, by extension, politicians. Now, the reason I raised this issue is because of the way this informational briefing is taking place. Because it's taking place as an informational briefing instead of a public hearing. And it's causing a lot of confusion out in the community because I tried to get people to come up here tonight and they said, oh no, it's an informational briefing. We won't be allowed to talk. I even called a senator's office to verify that people would be allowed to talk. But in the past 10 years that I've been testifying or trying to testify, informational briefings were for agencies to brief legislators on the status of operations. So an informational briefing like this is different because, first of all, we don't have anything to brief. We're the public. So this is, in fact, a fig leaf of a public hearing. And my concern is that we have a clock that's running. The clock is Liberation Day. And the clock is that there are parties that want to get casino gambling up in time for Liberation Day. And they may use this informational briefing as it meets the requirements of a public hearing. It was noticed. People were all given the opportunity to testify on the subject. So what I want is assurance that this informational briefing is not going to be used to tick off one of the requirements for a public hearing for this bill. Is that a fair request? Can we get that assurance that this is, in fact, an informational briefing and will not be used as a requirement for submitting a bill to the legislature for a vote?
I acknowledge your statement, but I think I have to consult with the rest of my colleague here.
So that's a no?
That's for if I can have your indulgence to just give me a little bit more time to really consult with my colleague.
Okay, that's
all right?
Fine.
Yeah, that's right. We're going to have a public hearing on this one. So I think the intent is, you're right. Your intent is
Okay, so if I'm understanding what you guys are saying, that this is a informational, there will be a properly noticed public hearing.
And it would translate into a public hearing.
Okay,
all right?
Good. That was my first big concern. My second big concern is the fruit of the poisonous tree doctrine. In other words, the moment you do one thing wrong, everything you do after that is wrong. And the reason I say that is because this bill, as written, is like a super bill. It doesn't limit its scope and authority to the traditional carnival games of chance. It allows all games of chance. And according to the Nevada State Gaming Commission, there are 501 recognized games of chance. So the scope of this bill allows poker, dice, and all other 501 games to be allowed. The second concern I have with this whole concept, I went back and read all the auditor's reports on the Mayor's Council and the liberation activities, and it documents that since 2003, attendance at the carnival has declining. And we've had casinos, we've had gambling. So the gambling and the casinos did not stop the decline in attendance at the Liberation Day Carnival. So this body is focusing way too much on the carnival. The key event is the Liberation Day Parade. People wait in line overnight to get their spots on Marine Corps Drive. There are thousands of people that camp out overnight along Marine Corps Drive to view the Liberation Day Parade. You can swing a dead cat around in a circle and you couldn't hit 10 people at the carnival. That's how bad the attendance was. Now, I only went to the casino up at Tejan once, and during the day, like a Saturday, there were maybe 50, 60 people there. And the only real attendance at the carnival is after 7 o'clock at night at the casino. So the main draw of the casino at Liberation is for gambling, which brings me to my next point. The goal of this bill right here is authorizing the Mayor's Council of Guam to draft rules and regulations to permit games of chance at the Island Fair, Liberation Day, and any other fair or carnival that the governor has issued a proclamation for. The governor issues proclamations at the rate of 2 or 3 a month for everything from Secretary's Day to Boss's Day to Coconut. I mean, there are proclamations being issued, and basically the way this is written, as long as the governor has issued a proclamation, it's a gambling event. If this bill were serious about raising funds during Liberation Day, the first thing it would do would limit it to traditional games found at carnivals, ring toss, milk bottles, pay red or whatever they call it, color, But by leaving it open to every conceivable kind of game of chance, it's a fig leaf to begin bringing organized casino gambling into the island full time. Now, the second concern I have with this, on the line of fruit of the poisonous tree doctrine, the Mayor's Council has been supervising the casino operations for how many years? And how many years have we been getting reports from the Office of Public Accountability that the non-appropriated funds generated by the Liberation Day Carnival are unauditable? Why should we believe that now the Mayor's Council has suddenly sprung the ethics and skill set to create a set of rules and regulations on a cash business that would satisfy the most stringent auditing requirements? I mean, that is a heavy load to expect the Mayor's Council to lift, because to the best of my knowledge, the staffing of the Mayor's Council and the various mayor's office do not include the type of people that have the experience and knowledge to create, vet, and certify games of chance. First time I had a client in Las Vegas, and the first time we were walking down the strip, he pointed all those casinos, and he said, you know what those buildings represent? Those buildings represent that 99 out of every $100 that comes into Las Vegas stays in Las Vegas. So in other words, we have an island that has a struggling working class population that is struggling to make it from paycheck to paycheck. Many households have 2 or 3 incomes. 60% of the households on this island, according to Bureau of Labor Statistics, do not even make more than $40,000 a year. Gambling is a tax on the poor, because everybody is looking for a way, that sudden windfall, to get ahead, and gambling provides that opportunity. So if this moves forward, we're going to see the kind of carnage that we see every time that there's a casino operation in place. Now, in Nevada, they documented that the cost of gambling addiction to a host community is $61,000 per person per gambling addict. But what they don't tell people is that 99% of those gambling addicts live out of state. So the $111 million that they get on licensing fees alone more than offsets the gambling addicts in a population of less than 3 million. We have a small population. We have a population of about 100,000, 120,000 adults. That is a population that is too insignificant to support the type of regulation required to have a legitimate gambling operation. The next concern I have is this bill doesn't identify activities. Again, this is an open check. This is like the Simon Sanchez first bill that set up a IDIQ, indefinite date, indefinite quantity, to which the contractors were identifying the opportunities to push through $160 million on what they were telling the public was going to be a $75 million school. This bill does the same thing, but for gambling. We don't identify that this games of chance will be limited to traditional carnival games of chance. There's a big difference between knocking down 3 milk bottles and craps. There's a big difference between throwing a quarter on a different color square and poker or 21 or roulette. So if this bill is a legitimate effort to find a funding vehicle to provide money to pay for a dying event, it's a waste of time. And I'm going to use newspapers as a perfect example of this. When I was working in the newspaper industry, Pacific Daily News in the 1970s ran 100 pages a day, 120 to 140 on the weekend. Now we're running 24, 28, 32 pages a day because the public has changed how they get their news. Well, the public has changed how they entertain themselves. Go to a restaurant. Half the people in the restaurant are sitting there on their smartphones. Go to a movie theater. I just came from a movie theater on a Friday. I went into a premiere. 6 people in a premiere. And 4 of the 6 people were sitting there on their smartphones instead of talking with each other. What this body has to recognize is the same thing that Disneyland and other premier family entertainment venues have recognized, that the entertainment needs of the people have changed. And Disneyland and Knott's Berry Farm and all these other organizations are trying to keep up with that. They're redoing their events, and what are they doing? They're making them more interactive digitally. So the problem that we have here on the Liberation Day Carnival is that even with gambling, the Mayor's Council ran a hole. They didn't cover their cost of operations. Why is this going to be different this time around? So this is a bad idea for Guam. It's not the right time. We don't have a strong middle class that has money to burn. All the casualties of gambling will be our problem. And if we don't have the money right now to fully fund DOE, we're going to get the money to fully fund the dramatic increase in social welfare issues that will arise as we start expanding gambling operations. So I think this bill needs to be, if it's going to move forward, it needs to move forward with severe restrictions. Limit it to the opening hours of the casino, not run it 24/7, not run it for a year. Limit it to traditional carnival games of chance. Because when I was last in El Dorado, I didn't see the milk bottle game. I didn't see the ring toss game. I didn't see the shoot the squirrel game, and I didn't see the water gun game, you know. But that's not what we're talking about with this bill. We're talking about going back to, I mean, right now in the Paseo, we got that double wide modular building, right? Is that still out there? Moved or something? Well, anyway, the whole point is, think about it, that somebody came in and put that building in there at great expense, expecting to make a lot of money. And where did that money come from? It doesn't come from the tourist. It comes from the local residents. So unless government of Guam has more than enough money to cover the increased social costs and the increased crime that expanding gambling operations will bring about, we are not in any position to go beyond milk bottles and ring toss. And again, we should limit it to, if this goes forward, it should be limited to carnival-type games of chance. It should be limited to the operational hours of the carnival and only the days that the carnival is actually open.
Thank you, Mr. Leon Guerrero. You know, have you ever gone into the game of chance? And you mentioned that
Reno,
the senators
Nevada.
and the mayors are not. I have to challenge you because I was a mayor for 12 years. And all the money that we make on the game of chance is accounted for.
Not according to the Office of Public Accountability.
No, let me just tell you, because when Mayor Huffman was interviewed right on the floor, he didn't have time to complete the report, the financial report. So I challenge you to tell me that the Mayor's Council don't know how to streamline their finances and to make sure that it's accounted for.
How much money did the casino bring in?
Let me just finish, Mr. Leon Guerrero, because you know what? The Mayor's Council donate to all the sports, almost all the sports activities on Guam with the money that they make. They send medical referrals, all violent, and help them with their finances, the cost of their finance. They help the church. They help almost all the social needs in sports. So what are you saying? That they don't know how to account for the funds that they make and the funds that they use. And I challenge you that, because it hurts me for you to say something like that in front of me when I know that I've been a mayor for 12 years and we did as much as we could to help our community.
I'm not challenging that part. What I'm challenging is the ability to track the money coming into a casino operation, making sure that all the taxes are paid and that all the winning taxes are paid.
So you think that the taxes are not being paid?
Hey, I'm just going by what I read in the auditor's report. I mean, the auditor's report says that the Mayor's Council could not state how much money came into the casino, could not declare how much was paid out of the casino operations, could not verify any taxes that were paid as a result of the casino operations.
Thank you. Who's the next? Mr. Tajri? You know, your writing is not.
My name is Sedfree Linsangan. Thank you, Mr. Senator Terlaje, for calling this informative meeting. And to all the senators, to the mayors, vice mayor, and everybody, good evening to all of you. Well, this informative hearing is very important. Reminds me of the quote of Ralph Waldo Emerson. Every person I meet is superior than me in some way. In that regard, I learned from him. Honorable senators, first of all, I would like to emphasize that gambling is not illegal under federal law. Well, as our political status is a territory, we are governed by the U.S. Constitution and federal law that is extended to Guam. There was a time in 1992 that the U.S. Congress have adopted the Professional and Amateur Sports Act. The intent of that is to ban gambling, ban sports gambling on almost 46 states, but exclude 4 states. The New Jersey challenged that federal law. They appealed to the Supreme Court. And the Supreme Court, just only in May 2018, the Supreme Court made the decision on a vote of 6-3, striking that federal law because it violates the Constitution, the 10th Amendment Constitution that preserves the right of the states. And aside from that, the New Jersey have adopted a referendum also against supporting the sports gambling. Now, in our situation, we are covered by that federal law. Yes, I might oppose a lot of you, or some of you, that gambling could be legal in Guam. Because of that, under federal law, it is not illegal. And we have so many gambling here already. Bingo, game foul fighting, underground casino, and lottery at the supermarket. But how can you overturn that federal law that, hey, we can do gambling in Guam? It is not the legislature's authority. It is the people power. The people can initiate or propose a statute or constitutional amendment, even though we are a territory. Or the people can propose a referendum to put a statute to a ballot for rejection or enactment. It is the legislature has no authority to initiate a referendum. It's specified in Organic Act Section 1422A. The people of Guam shall have the authority of initiative and referendum to be exercised upon the condition and condition of the law of Guam. That's why that marijuana thing that was passed by the legislature to a referendum, if it will be challenged in the federal court, that could be strike out. Why do you think doctors are so afraid to prescribe that, to be involved with that? Because there's a federal law violation. But when it comes to a people exercising their right to initiate something, then it can overturn the federal law. And that's what the people of Guam should be doing. Collect signatures just like what they did in the states. They challenge the federal law, and the federal government cannot enforce their authority because the people have spoken. And if the people have spoken, then they cannot arrest all of those people that are using it. So, and that relates also to the marijuana that's being introduced now. Mr. Chairman, yes, there are so many gambling here already in Guam. And the senators can, one of the senators can still stick with his or with her gun or with her conviction or his conviction to oppose this bill. But now, what will you do to convince her, to influence the majority of the senators to support this bill? I think you need to make some amendment. The team needs teamwork, pass the ball, share the wealth. I don't see any provision in this bill that will provide a certain percentage to the government of Guam or to the school or to the hospital. It's all going to the mayor. Yes, I agree with some gaming activities because it's not illegal under federal law. But then again, they have their own principle. And before it will be challenged, they have to file a lawsuit in the federal court, which could take years. And your bill is already thrown out in the basket. So you might as well amend this bill and amend the third page that say that you have only 30 days to act on the draft, and failure to act in this timeline shall enact the draft into law. Maybe you can change it to subject to review, amendment, and adoption of the legislature. Then you might influence some of the senators or convince them. You need the teamwork, pass the ball, and then give something to the government. Not only all the proceeds will be going to the mayor's council, to every village. Because no matter what we do, people will gamble. Even you said, no gambling. People will still find a way to gamble. And we will lose the government because there's no regulation. There's no tax. They will gamble inside the office, at their backyard, and so many other things. Online gambling, and sometimes they need to endure to be run out all of their money so they can be a better person. They need to endure pain, hardship, and then maybe they will realize that you cannot make money in gambling. You might win once, but you will lose 1,000 times or 100 times. And yes, we cannot police everybody. So I'm just stating, I believe, is facts that will make this activity, ongoing. So that's all, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you for your thoughts, sir. I just wanna mention that this is an informational briefing. It's not a public hearing. Okay, it's an informational briefing. It's not a public hearing. Public hearing is going to come later. But sometimes I get confused because, we say things here that is not informational. It's like we're in a public hearing setting. And that's why I'm bothered sometimes, because when I listen to the testimony, maybe we misinterpret the purpose of this setting. It's like I said, it's informational and it's not a public hearing. Next speaker, Mr. Nick.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, Senator Pedo, and the rest of the senators. Thank you. My name is Nick Francisco. I'm a resident of Mangilao. I'm a 16-year mayor of Mangilao. I was the past president of the Mayor's Council for 3 years. I chaired deliberation during the Governor Paul Calvo's time for 3 consecutive years, and I'm very familiar with this bill. I'm here to support the mayors, to give the mayors to set up the rules and regulation of this game of chance. Like I said, I chaired deliberation for 3 consecutive years during the during Governor Paul Calvo's time. And to me, liberation is still the same back then. Game of chance back then is like Perret or over and under, ring the toss, or other games like the balloon throwing, and they win some prize. And the casino style, to me, I kind of compare that with Las Vegas. That's like a peanut kind of casino. I endorse the idea to run the casino during the carnival time. I endorse the idea that not to open the casino 24/7. I endorse the idea to monitor and regulate the casino. I endorse the idea that the money will go all to the mayors because we have 19 villages. And if you split the pie on the 19 villages, there's not that much to get after paying all expenses of the carnival. So I don't think there's much money to share with the other government agency. I like to see some money goes to education or the hospital, but I know that this revenue coming in from the carnival with the game of chance is only to pay the operation for the success of the Liberation Carnival parade and all the activities during this time. I am the commander for the Military Order of the Purple Heart. As a nonprofit, tax exempted, we are one of the sponsors of the 5 Bingo at the Compadres Mall. The 5 Bingo organizer right now is having big problem with the ruling that was given up there at Revenue and Tax that we cannot use the electronic bingo card minor because it's illegal to use electronic bingo card here in Guam. Up to this point, up to this time, I never see anything in black and white. Only interpretation by an individual of the Revenue and Tax that say it's illegal. But up to this time, I love for somebody to show me that law that says it's illegal, because I have friends all over, members that went all over the States and they visit bingo in the States and they say, why that in Guam they say it's illegal and in the States everybody's using the electronic bingo card minor? Why in Guam that they say it's illegal, but up to this time I don't know what is the so secret of that document that they cannot share. So I can share that with everybody. I meet with the 5 Bingo organizer half a day, Pangasinan, the Lucky, and Plumeria. And up to this time, none of us ever see that document other than somebody up there, Revenue and Tax, saying it's illegal. Our supplier, the bingo, our supplier from Ohio, the Arrow Company, came in 2 weeks ago because they said they need to have a license here in Guam. They're franchised to do business in Guam, but they said they need to have a business license to do in Guam. The agent went up there. They denied the business license because it's illegal to use the electronic bingo card in Guam, but there's nothing in writing that we see, and we like to see that. If any of you senators can get that information for me and the rest, we're going to be so happy so we can know what to do next. Right now, we don't know what to do next. Either go see the governor, go see the director, see you senators. We don't know what to do. We're all confused. And the Manamko or the bingo are complaining because their eyes is not good. Even myself, I cannot see this paper. I forgot my glass. We have this blind up comes to the bingo. 2 Sundays ago, I was up there. I know this gentleman. They call him Brown. He was just sitting there so sad because there's no machine in front of him to play. But he's there because he got nothing. At least leaving the house, going to play bingo, he hear that sound and make him feel good. the manamko, and maybe some of you, your parents or your auntie, uncle is playing bingo. I don't know whether they ever come and complain to you that when we can use the bingo, electronic bingo device. But I hope I endorse this idea. I support the mayors, like I said. There's a lot of improvement for the mayors to do, and this round table is the time to put all that recommendation in. Like I said, I support that. I don't support the 24/7 on that casino. I endorse the idea of doing that during the carnival time. After the carnival, close the casino down. And I hope that the mayors will do a better job in financial reports so we can satisfy the people out there. I hope the auditor will come back after the carnival and say the mayors get an A+ for doing better than the previous year. So again, Mr. Chairman, and all of you senators, thank you for the opportunity for me to come down here. And like I said, I chair Liberation for 3 consecutive years during Governor Paul Calvo's time. I'm willing to share my experience with the mayors of Guam. Thank you.
I just want to say that we're looking forward to a financial solution. And I'm pretty sure that, and I've already talked to the sponsor of the bill, that we need to insert something in there to make sure that the financial gain during the game of chance or in the liberation are accounted for. And from there, but however, the sponsor of the bill had mentioned that he had that on the regulation already. But I would like to see that on the actual bill, so that people, when people see the bill, they're going to see that the main concern here is to make sure that the mayors are in line with the financial requirements, to make sure that it's transparent and meet the requirements of auditing. So we're going to have that inserted in there. And let me just say, Mr. Francisco, that I know that the bingo are having problems, and though this is just a briefing, it's not a public hearing, and sometimes I get confused because we're going to other subject matters. But let me just say that there's no such rule, federal rule, that denies our residents or the people of Guam, that denies us from using what we call the electronic, if you call it gadget, because it's not a gambling machine. It's not the same as the slot machine or the Liberty machine. It's just an easier way for players to quickly, notice the numbers that is being shown on the board or on the machine, and that's all that it is. I just want to ask, maybe I'll start with my left. Kelly Mars, Senator Kelly Mars, do you have anything, Senator?
Not at this time. Not at this time.
Go ahead, Will. You're good for now? My good Senator Elena Nelson? You're good? First Amanda? You okay? Clint? James? You better say something, James. This is your bill. No more speakers? No, every...
Okay, and from the instructions of Mr. Chairman, thank you, sir. I appreciate everybody coming out today for Bill 29. It's a draft. That's what a bill is. If there are more input to come in, that's why we have an informational hearing. This was put together to get people's input. It was put together to support what the mayors were asking for. When it comes down to it, the rules and regulations will be presented to the members, the Senate right? The 35th Guam legislature will review those rules and regulations, and we as a body would have to feel confident that the people are treated fairly and the event will happen as meant to be. It is just a bill not to authorize gambling, but to authorize the mayors to come up with rules and regulations for what they feel is fair and justifiable and successful for our 75th Guam Liberation Day Parade. And the events and the festivals and the festivities. So this is our annual Liberation Day Parade, and it's the 75th anniversary. And if we're thinking of something great to have for the 75th anniversary, this was a consideration put out there, and that's for the reason of this bill. Previously, the games of chance and the other games were removed, but maybe now we can relook at it, and that's why this was introduced. If it doesn't go any further, well, at least it was introduced. If it passes, maybe it passes because that's the feelings now, right? It's really focused on what the Liberation Day and how exciting it can be, but basically it all takes money and appropriation of money to get this going. And possibly the other mayors would wish to share how much money is really needed to get this festivities going. Good points brought across by our presenters so far, and probably more good points to come out in addition as we move along. But what we're really looking at is for the betterment of the people of Guam. If it's not big casinos, it's not big casinos. If it's just pay bread, and then it's just pay bread. But it's up to the mayors to decide that. They're the ones that are going to tell us that, and they're the ones that are going to figure out how best to go about that, and I'm here to learn. So, Mr. Chair, before I keep on rambling on here, there's probably some other mayors that wish to speak. So I appreciate everybody's time, and I'm looking forward to hearing much more information to share, please. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Is Art Chan here? Art Chan?
Yes, my dear Senator. I wasn't going to say anything, but in addition to what our colleague there mentioned, I am the president of the Guam Shrine Club, and we take care of sending our kids who are seen by the doctors that come here twice a year. As a matter of fact, next week we will have doctors coming from the Honolulu Shriners Hospital for Children to they're here to examine almost 200 children that are afflicted with orthopedic problems. And we get our funding through games of chance. Bingo, as a matter of fact, is one of them. In the past year, or since last June, we've been told that we won't be given any license until we meet the requirements of the Department of Revenue and Taxation in not using machines for bingo. But like our colleague there, Nick, mentioned, but because without the use of the bingo machines, a lot of our manamcos, and I consider myself one of them, being 71 years old. I've been here 49 years of my life. I've been here, and I've seen how helpless sometimes people who don't have the resources can't go to places where their children needs or can get attention that is on a professional basis. So for 19 years now of my life, I've been trying to assist the Shriners in making sure that these kids that we see here by the doctors that come twice a year are sent over to Honolulu. I was just there last December 31st, and I see a hospital that is, I can't even say that we have hospitals that are comparable to that, because they use digital equipment which are really the best that anybody could have, and the kids get real professional help going there. And we don't rely on money that the government gives, even federal, but we make sure through our organization that we send at least 35 kids to Honolulu. And we need money. We need money to do that. Without the machines, we can't send the kids. It takes at least $3,000 for a child and a parent to be sent to Honolulu. For 35 kids that we send there every year, which, as a matter of fact, I look at the chart and when we go to Honolulu, and I've seen that we've sent 2,200 of our children there ever since they opened up. And some of those children are seen and treated for free. For free. Can you imagine that? That's the kind of help that our organization does. And without those machines that Nick mentioned, it's kind of hard and difficult. And I know this is an affirmative hearing, but I hope that we can amend this bill to include the use of the machines. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Rick Cruz, are you here? Rick? Rick and Paul McDonald and Dave. Alvarez? Dale Alvarez? Or is that Dale Alvarez? Come on up, right?
Mayor Dale.
Mayor Dale?
Yes.
Mayor Melissa? Come on up.
Mayor Melissa.
Angel Sablon? Jose Mick? Alec? Ojo Alec? The mayor of PD, right? Mayor? Tiu Lujan? This is coming up. Rick, go ahead.
Okay, thank you for the opportunity, Mr. Chairman, and good evening, Senators. And thank you for affording me the opportunity to be here and express myself on this law, or rather Bill 29-35. All is said previously with the gentleman that had preceded us, or is actually outlined on this bill on Section 2 under Rules and Regulations. How much more specific can we address on what the standards are supposed to be set on? I cannot overemphasize what's been listed here on the, which is on page 3, by the way. I, myself, as Mr. Nick Francisco is also a representative from the Military Order of the Purple Heart. And we, for one, support the issue of the mayors being in charge of the Liberation Day activity. And in support of that, I have the utmost respect for their capabilities, skills, and knowledge, and also their resources locally to make the Liberation Day a success. On the issue on the rules and regulations, I am particularly concerned, as well as Mr. Nick and Mr. R. Chan, on line 13, and that the gaming devices should be identified. What specifically gaming devices would be authorized for the Liberation Day activity. All in all, the bottom line is that, in my concern, as Mr. Nick and Mr. Chan has stated, is about the bingo activity. And I know that senators, you yourself, have relatives, aunts, uncles, and maybe not you, or maybe it also concerns you, of participating in the bingo activities. Myself, I started being familiar with bingo activities with my mother. She's an advocate of bingo. And just to reflect with some of your memories, recall back, my mother used to collect pennies just to mark the numbers that it's called. But you know, let's face it, ladies and gentlemen, and senators, time has changed. We agreed, and we've seen it. And with the time changes, it's technology. Technology makes it easier for everybody to communicate and to understand procedures and what's going on in any way, shape, or form, no matter what activity. Technology is involved in our everyday life, even to our sleep, even to wake us up in the morning. It's not the roosters or the hens cackling or roosting in the morning that wakes us up now. It's modern technology. We have to face it, and at the same time, we have to entertain the community. And in the game of bingo, we're entertaining the elderly more so. And believe it or not, there's a lot of middle-aged citizens playing bingo also. So the bingo itself is a history in the island. Imagine your parents, your grandparents collecting pennies just to go play bingo. And they would get on you to make sure that they have enough pennies so that they can go to bingo. With that, the gambling issue on Guam, revenue and tax is so hard on bingo activities, specifically the bingo machine minder. But if revenue and tax had actually enforced what they think is law, and enforce a law that would actually bring in revenue, we wouldn't be arguing about the bingo machine, because they would have better things to do, i.e. going out to the villages and taking a look at the gambling in individual homes. Think about it. Your relatives, your aunts, your uncles, your brothers, sisters, cousins, and weekends especially. I know bingo activities in private homes that have been conducted from 6 o'clock. First off, they have dinner, getting ready for the overnight bingo activity. Maybe even for a couple of days, Friday night and Saturday night. People do play illegal games. Why concentrate or why even be concerned about a bingo minder machine? With that also, bingo activities pay taxes, no doubt. Because I am the chairperson for the MOPH bingo held at Compadres Mode. Our accountability of finances is reportable to revenue and tax. We even publish it on the daily newspaper. So our activity is contributing to the economy itself. Maybe not as much as an unauthorized or illegal card playing activity in individual homes. My last input, I want to pose to everybody, is that there's only one set of law that cannot be broken, and only one man came up with that law. It's solid. It cannot be changed. The reason why it cannot be changed because it's forged by one man, an almighty person. It's forged in stone. But what we're talking here and what we're concerned about is a man-made law. Man-made law can be changed, and we all know that. The only thing is that it has to be thought out, and it has to be agreed upon by the citizens. Just as you folks are sitting up there. You're up there because the citizens put you there. The citizens believe in your ability, knowledge, and skill, and their confidence in you to support us with our issues and what bothers us in the community. That is a fruitful thought, and I thank you for this opportunity of addressing you.
Thank you, Rick. Mayor Paul McDonald.
Okay, so golf in the knocking, push golf out na bequentus. I am Mayor Paul McDonald. I was the president of the Mayor's Council when we first took over the bingo. I don't know how many years ago was that, but you know, I forgot already. Anyways, old jokes set aside. Please help these organizations that are making, that are sponsoring these bingo. Guys, you can take that party and say, hey, revenue and tax, allow them to go ahead and use the machines because we're losing revenue. You know, and these organizations that are sponsoring these bingos are in need of help, like the Shriners, the Purple Heart, and all those guys. But be as in may, we're here for an informational meeting tonight. And I'd like to inform everybody that since the Mayor's Council of Guam took over liberation, there has never been so transparent than we have made it transparent. All the organizations that have run the bingo since we took over have never had an audit or even records that we can look back to from any of the organizations. And that's how proud we are as the Mayor's Council of Guam. We have our audit report. The last time that we were asked to come down here to testify on the bill that stopped the casino, we weren't given time to get the audit report that we had the auditors working on. And that was very unfair. Like I said, they took the rock beneath our feet. After all the work that we have done
It's a shame. It's a shame what happened with the legislature. And I'm here to testify on that. And, you know, if they were to have given us time to get that audit, we would have given it to them. You know, they painted a black eye to the Mayor's Council of Guam. And I felt really sad. And that's why I came out and I said, if you guys want to take over, then take over. And they did. And the last two liberation, it is a shame. They've killed the carnival. It's dead. Dead on an arrival, like they said. So this is why we're coming back and we're saying that let's try and revive the carnival and the liberation festivities. Because there's a shame. That is why we're here today. Because we were liberated and we were glad that we can celebrate. You know, survivors are dying every day. Survivors of liberation. How shameful that we killed the carnival and then now, and look at the parade. The parade, hardly anybody. It was the parade that we had traditionally. We had people lined up from where it started, down in Asan, all the way down to Paseo. Last year, it started up to the district court. That's when the crowd started, and it was sporadic. It was sporadic. It wasn't too crowded. The carnival, the governor came down. He was there for 5 minutes. He was just embarrassed. 2 years in a row when we didn't have the games of chance. We need to revive the carnival, at least just for liberation. You know, and I am not for the casino, but at least for the game of chance. You know, people want to gamble or go and play game of chance. Their kids go ride the kiddie rides. You know, last year we didn't have anybody because, you know, what are the parents going to do? But going back to the transparency, we do have, and it's required of us to come in and report whatever funds we generate or whoever is awarded, who's awarded the casino or any of the vendors that have put in for a bid. And we do come out with our reports every year. Every year. From the time we have taken over liberation. And you can go back to the archives and even ask if any of the organizations have reported or even kept the records of liberation. It is only the Mayor's Council of Guam that have that record. And I guess we're here, information meeting. You can ask anybody that has been involved with the carnival. Barry, you know that. You know that when you were there. And proceeds or profits that we make, we actually divided to the First Lady's choice of organization or support or whoever they decide to sign the check to or to provide whatever funds is needed.
And the First Lady gets 50%.
Yes. Even the candidates. Last year, normally we have an average of 9, 10 candidates. Last year we only had 3. 3 candidates, liberation candidates. It's embarrassing, a shame. This year we hope to bring everybody and encourage not only the villages, but organizations and government agencies to participate and come out with a candidate. You know, but this is why we are very adamant in coming and trying to find a way to have everybody participate and find an interest to invite people back. You give us 500,000, what are we going to do with that? Pay people to come down? You know, it's the interest that we're looking at to invite people to come down, not just through games of chance, but it's like a domino effect, even to the casino. I'll go back to the casino. You go into the casino when it was operating, pura mambatsigo, people from off island, foreigners. The only table that you see in the casino that you see local is the pasoy. That's all they play, is the pasoy. And they are senior citizens that have nothing to do. They're retired. You don't see these young generations go in there. You know, and okay, those people that come in there, that play on the card tables, they have their kids outside riding the kiddie rides. And then the vendors that come in to sell, you have one vendor maybe selling hamburgers, and their kids are out there riding the kiddie rides. So it's like if you, another thing is before the casino was stopped, yes, the number of vendors fell, but it fell from like 90 to 61 was the biggest that we had before the casino was closed, 61 vendors. Then it fell down to like 20 after the casino was stopped. So you can tell that you know, it's like a domino effect again. It just has something to do with the interest again. But again, going back to the bill, it's not a perfect bill. Senator Moylan, it's almost perfect. But, you know, we don't care about the fiestas. The fiestas is dead. It's dead. The tradition that we used to have 10 years ago. Because again, that's another problem that we have with probably with revenue and tax, the fire department, public health. It's very silly that Maria cannot come out and sell empanada anymore because the requirements are just too much. Our manamcos want to come out and make $30, and it takes them $150 to make $30. It just don't make sense anymore. You know what I'm talking about, right? So that's another issue that we can look into to bring back our tradition. You know, but we can talk about that later. We're here for this bill. Let's just have it for the carnival time, liberation time. Never mind about the fiestas. Forget about that. Because of the time constraint that we have, we need to go on and move forward, like everybody says. You know, we're here to say you know, we don't want to waste our time if there's nothing that's going to come out with our meetings tonight, okay? And thank you for having us with this informational meeting. And I'm here to answer any questions that you guys want, okay?
I guess our good senator want to ask you a question.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Hafaday, Sir, Mayor McDonald. I do have a question. So the intent is not to develop another casino. What you are looking for is for us to define games of chance as the Betsu Betsu or the color game. Is that if I understand, am I understanding that right? Am I understanding that right? The games of chance. For us to define games of chance as the color game or Betsu Betsu. Traditional, okay. Thank you, Mayor.
Mayor Alvarez, you're next in line. I'm just following the sign. Who signed first?
And yield to him.
No, it doesn't matter to me.
Mr. Chair, we'll go ahead and yield to our executive director.
Okay.
Because he does have reports to show today.
Okay.
This is information.
All right.
Good evening, Senators. I'm Angel Sablan, the Executive Director of the Mayor's Council of Guam. You know, tonight, this informational hearing, I've heard people up here, and then the very first speaker mentioned some stuff that kind of tugged at my heart. As a director of the Mayor's Council, when I hear things about they're irresponsible, unauditable, they don't know where the money's going, they can't account for the money, it really, these are mayors and vice mayors, and I work for them. And when you put them on that scale where you start your testimony with saying that the biggest problem that the people of the UOG study says is this corruption, and then putting us in that same category as his opening statement, it's just not right. And I just wanted to say that. We go back to this, to the bill. Thank you, Senator Moylan, for introducing the bill. And thank you, Senator Nelson, for withdrawing your bill. The Mayor's Council of Guam has always been around, but they didn't take over the responsibilities of liberation until 2011. That's the year we asked that we take it over. This casino, or you want to call it a casino, or games of chance, have been in existence ever since. I remember back in 1985, when I was still with the Department of Corrections, and bless her soul, Lagrimas Affligui was the person in charge of the liberation festivities, and she was for many, many years. We called it a casino then, and every year after that. The only time it stopped was during Governor Camacho, Felix Camacho's time, when he only allowed for the games of chance, like color game, over and under, big and small, pay red. And then in 2011, when Governor Cava was in, he allowed us to go ahead and do more games. Now, this casino name is a misnomer. Mr. Youngrar mentioned that casino means there's, in the scale of in Las Vegas, there's 501 games that are listed under casino. Ever since in Guam, I can only count on my 10 fingers 8 different games that are played in that building. Poker, baccarat, Texas Hold'em, dice, roulette, Monte. Super Six. There are no slot machines. There's no big electronic e-games. And we support, we don't want to call it a casino because it is not. If the people of Las Vegas come here and look at the kind of the casino that we call a casino, they're going to turn right around and go back to Vegas. We are responsible for the money that we obtained for liberation. And the money that we get is not because it's going to the mayor's council. The money we get is for the operations of the liberation festivities. We are not audited. That's false. We've been audited since we took over the liberation festivities in 2011, 2012, 2013, 2014. The only 2 years, 2015 and 16, they were already working on the audit. 2017, 2018, we did not do the carnival. It was run by the governor's office. In fact, GVB was one of the people that ran it. So for someone to say that we're inauditable, we have been audited. And our non-appropriated funds, the money that goes to the Mayor's Council of Guam from the liberation festivities, have been audited every single year under the Mayor's Council of Guam. And though we may have started out rough, like Mr. Francisco said, we would have already gotten by this time an A+. Because every year there was an improvement, and every year the public auditor congratulated us. Because we were putting things in place to make sure that the funds that we do receive are transparent and people know where they're going. Donations. Someone said we don't give any money to anyone except Mayor's Council. False. When that building in Barragata Heights is completed for the foster children under the Regalo Foundation, you can thank Liberation and the Mayor's Council of Guam because they donated close to $250,000 for that facility from Liberation. We didn't give anything last year or the year before because simply we didn't run it, and I don't think that organization that ran it made any funds. We gave to GMH, 1 year, $10,000. We gave to our memorials so that our mayors don't have to get out of their pocket or out of their budgets to operate the memorials. Senators, the only time we used the 1 red cent of government money for liberation since we ran it was last year, when there was an appropriation of $35,000 for memorials. $35,000 is all the Mayor's Council of Guam has ever used in government funds to operate the liberations since it was under us in 2011. We don't pay our taxes? False. The Mayor's Council of Guam pays their taxes for liberation. The Paseo building, someone mentioned it's sitting over there, the Butler building, awaiting for another opportunity for casinos to take over. That's not why it's still standing there. That building has actually been donated from the vendor to a nonprofit organization called Hurrah to use it for our kids so that they can continue to be immersed in the Chamorro language. It's not there because they're awaiting for another opportunity. It's been given to an organization that can make use of it. It's been mentioned here tonight that we don't pay our debts, that we owe money. Since we took over Liberation, I don't think any one of you have ever heard any vendor or anyone come to you and say the Liberation people owe me money. We have paid every single bill that has come out for Liberation since we started. But let me tell you this. When we took over in 2011, we couldn't even get our Power for Liberation connected. Why? Because the previous organization didn't pay their bill. We had to pay that bill plus make a $40,000 deposit just to get Power connected for Liberation, because they didn't trust that we were going to be able to pay them the utility bill, because their experience was the other organizers always had an outstanding balance. So I can sit here before you today and tell you, no one that has become a vendor or a supplier or a servicer for Liberation under the Mayor's Council of Guam is owed any money. Players. The players that come, I wish you would have come into some of you probably did come to that building. It's not a majority of our people. It's construction workers from China. The Filipinos that play the Monte, the retirees. It's the people that work in the clubs that when they close at night, they come because they want some more activities and they want to spend all the tips that they got. We have a few, Tan Maria and Tun Jose, that come. But you know why? It's because their only enjoyment in their twilight years to be able to do something. Ay, leho, sa lape usti, mungok masangani tayo mano pa begasta. Don't tell me how to spend my money after I've earned it all these years. And who takes them to there? They're in walkers, they're in wheelchairs. They ask their sons and their daughters to drive them there. Instead of them just sitting home and switching the remote control. An uncle, yeah, they're playing in our bingos that we have in our senior centers. You come and visit them. You try to take away their bingo in the senior center, and they're going to dab you with their dabber. Someone mentioned that, where's all the millions that have been coming in since the Mayor's Council took over the Liberation Facility? The only year that we saw over $1 million come in concession fees was in 2013. In 2011, it was $543,000. In 2012, it was $596,000. In 2013, it was $1,079,000. 2014, it was $615,000, give or take. 15 and 16, I can get you those numbers, 17 and 18. Those figures are not with us because, like I said, we didn't operate the carnival at that time. So the millions of dollars that you're saying that comes in and out, Even the $1 million that came in 2013, we spent $1,254,510 to operate the carnival. Why? Because we had entertainment every night. We brought in an off-island group. We had fireworks every weekend. Fireworks are not cheap. 15 minutes is $100,000 a pop. Entertainment is not cheap. Sometimes I wonder why is it that GVB gives all kinds of money for entertainers to go everywhere and entertain for people that are not on Guam. But when we ask those very same entertainers to come to our stage and perform for our people, money first. Money first. Yet, after GVB has given them all this opportunity with our own funds, they come back and they still want us to pay them. So yes, we pay them. Entertainment costs us about $50,000 in Liberation. You know why we put up a stage in Tizon? To save money. Although we spent $20,000 to put that up, it's much less than the $30,000 we pay every year just to rent a canopy and a wooden stage. Those buildings you see up in Tizon that are now like skeleton, we paid for those. We paved the walkways. But the reason why we started taking things apart in Tizon is because there's no power there anymore, so people at night come and take advantage of the dark. They steal one butler tin here, 2 screws there. Pretty soon the whole roll-up door is gone. So instead of them stealing it, we took it. We gave it to some of our mayors so they can make use of it. The reason why we left the skeleton there is because Barrigada Mayor June is going to use it. That's her facility now. That's her jurisdiction now. She's going to make a market there. Flea market, swap meet. She can explain to you. She's whispering in my ear, but she can explain to you. So yes, I know, Senator Tilina, I know that you say the people of Guam have spoken for 5 times, voted, no casino. But the last time I checked, none of those referendums ever said include the Liberation games of chance. In fact, the last one that I saw on the referendum was on January 5th, some odd year, 2008, and that was for slot machines. If the people of Guam said no then in 2008, we are now in 2019, and I still see slot machines. I guess the court is going to decide whether we can call them slot machines or not. But if the people of Guam voted no casino, no gambling, then we must be blind. We must be blind. Because as we speak, there's no less than 5 bingo parlors operating thousands of dollars, and you heard some of them here today. And their cause is very good. They're helping our people, our kids, the sick, the less fortunate. There's cockfighting, still. In fact, there's a federal ban, and what do? Oh, no. We cannot include Guam in that. Some of our own senators are going to try to make sure that that ban doesn't apply to Guam. You know, the ironic thing is, we've got the cockfight and we've got the bingo, and that's great, because at least they're paying taxes and they're putting it into the limited gaming fund, of which the Mayor's Council of Guam benefits 1/3, Parks and Rec benefits 1/3, and I believe the hospital benefits 1/3. We're benefiting. But as we speak, and like Mr. Cruz said, you go around the island, and there's game homes, game houses that are operating. What benefit do the people of Guam get from that? Yet we know it's happening. But do you have the gall to have them shut down or legalize it so that at least the government can make some money from them and we can get more money into the limited gaming fund? Just because we stop Liberation and stop poker and stop Texas Hold'em there doesn't mean it stopped. It's happening. So this bill, Senator Moylan, you want us to put together the rules and regulations? I'm the first to admit I'm no expert in casino-type games. I go into the casino when it was there, at Teason, and I don't even know how they play Texas Hold'em. I don't know what happens on that little dice. I can't understand. But I sit there and watch. It's not my job to sit there and watch, to make sure that everything is okay. But when they say, what about the money that the winners get or the losers and how much money? You know, that's why we have a Department of Revenue and Taxation. Because they're the ones who are supposed to come into those places and regulate it. It's not the Mayor's Council of Guam's responsibility. Yes, we issue the forms when they do their winnings. One of the things we want to put in this regulation is that a person, an employee under the compliance branch of Revenue and Taxation must be present at all the time that the operation is open. And we'll make it such that the person or the operator of that game pays for the salary of that person from Revenue and Tax to be there, so it doesn't come out of the pocket of the government of Guam. Security. You know, years before, remember when GPD were the ones going around and guarding the Liberation? Since we took over, we've never used Guam Police Department as security. Why? Because we know they're needed more out in our villages, on our streets, than to watching a little 6,000 square foot building and who walks in and who walks out. And hoping to see they come out with bags of money of millions of dollars. It's never happened and never will. But we've never used GPD. Instead, we required the vendor to make sure you have 24-hour security. And you know what? GPD benefited from that because the off-duty police officers were the ones that were hired to come in and work. They were already trained. And on the outside, where we have the little win every time and ring toss and this, we hired our own security, contributed to our economy and hired a security agency to come there and be the ones to watch the liberation. So I may be doing all this, but like I said, I get taken aback when people mention, and we hear it on the radio all the time, but I don't want to call in because my blood pressure is already high. I do not need to call in and have a pissing match with somebody on the radio. The facts are the facts, and here they are. Audit after audit after audit after audit. If you don't understand what you're reading there, and some people don't, because the first, commissions, $300,000 paid in commissions. Oh, that must have gone to Angel Sublon. Commissions are what they paid out the raffle winners. Commissions are what they gave the Queen candidates as part of their share. I didn't take an oath here, but I can tell you that none of these 26 members of the Mayor's Council of Guam, including myself, have ever been paid out of any liberation money. We do this out of the goodness of our hearts. We do this because our people deserve it. We feel bad what happened last year and the year before. The governor thought that he could make it revive again. After all, he's the governor. He used his very people to do it. Oh yeah, the opening day was grand. After that, what happened? The only other time you saw people was Wednesday night market. And if it wasn't for Wednesday night market, there'd be no market at all. So we're not here because the mayors want to make money, because we won't make money. We're here because we just want to put something together, the 75th year of our celebration for our people. We ask you to think out of the box. We're asking to legalize casino. We're just asking for this celebration, 60 days or whatever it may be, allow the people of Guam. Let's use other people's money. Why do we have to use government money? Senator Tilina, I appreciate the $500,000. But Mr. Mark Mendiola just walked out there and said, Angel, that $500,000 can better be used at GDOE. I cannot say no. I cannot say no. It's better used for us in our liberation. And where are we going to get the $500,000? Our budget was cut from last year to this year. You cut our grass cutting money. You cut our operations money. You cut our programs money. And even further, this year, if there's no money put into the Territorial Education Facilities Fund, they're going to cut our grass cutting money even more. So when you say that we'll appropriate $500,000 to the Mayor's Council of Guam for Liberation, thank you, but no thank you. There's got to be some other way to get money than what's already there that we know everybody wants to get it. How can liberation be more important than fixing Simon Sanchez High School? How can liberation be more important than hiring more police officers and corrections officers and fire personnel? How can liberation be more important than fixing our roads? If we have an abundance of it, fine. Then we'll take it. But as I am sitting here, I know that there is not an abundance and there is no money. Because if there is money, we wouldn't get less and less and less every year. So I'm just asking if we can just think of out of the box and give us an opportunity to be able to let the thing pay for itself instead of using government money. Let it pay for itself. And what is so wrong with that? We talk about social ills. It's going to be the start of social ills. There's all kinds of social ills now, even without gambling at liberation. But of course, I'm not saying that because it's a reason to go ahead and allow it. I'm just saying that if we don't do it, it's still going to happen. If we do it, it may happen. But can't we all agree to find some way to raise money without raising our taxes and without taking from education or taking from hospital or taking from some other needy government agency? If you want to regulate it to the hilt. Because we'll agree with that. We don't want it 24 hours either. But at least give them an opportunity to make up some of their investment back. Even though we have the facilities open from 6 to 12, right? Everybody's closed already at 9 o'clock. So how's that? Nobody wants to walk around anymore. Nothing to do. They're tired of hearing the little thing that we plug to the microphone to have music because we cannot even afford a DJ. And when we do afford a DJ, they complain because how come it's the same music every night? So the bottom line is, Senators, yes, liberation is not going to be cheap. It's going to cost, like Senator Nelson appropriation, it's going to cost around $500,000. But it's not $500,000 that we want to take from our coffers. It's $500,000 that we know we can generate from people that want to participate in liberation. We just can't do it by asking the little kiddie games to be the ones to pay for everything. I can't get more than $1,000 from a vendor that operates the little coin toss or the little balloon dart. Because that won't pay for anything. But maybe the color game can bring in $10,000 a booth, or the big and small can bring in $25,000 a booth. But if it's all going to be those little kiddie games, we might as well go to Chuck E. Cheese. And by the way, I think there's gambling up there at Chuck E. Cheese too. I mean, when you put in all those little things and all those tickets come out, and you take it and you go over there and you claim your prize, what is that? We teach our kids young. So, I love all of you. And please don't be offended by anything I said. I just want to, and we all want to find a way. Your side, our side, everybody, we just want to find a way to be able to compromise and do something. And this may be a start. It may not be a perfect bill, but to do rules and regulations, we're willing to do it. And in fact, I don't want it just to be the Mayor's Council of Guam to come up with these rules and regulations. Let's have somebody from the AG's office to be a member of that committee that's going to come up with the rules and regs. Let's have Mr. Ken Leon Guerrero be a member of that committee that wants to come up with rules and regulations. Let's have Revenue and Tax be a member. This way, we've got everything covered. Everybody that has an interest. Let's have somebody from the OPA a part of that committee. We're not afraid of being audited. We're not afraid of being transparent. We're not afraid of being regulated. In fact, we want all of those things in those rules and regulations. But just don't tell us, no, it cannot be done. It can be done. Other places have done it. Why do we let our people fly, pay $400 to fly how many miles up north? To give their money to them over there when we need it here? Why do we have to fly to the Philippines to their casino or to Macau? Those are the real casinos. But you know, if you legalize these little card games that we have existing, being done right now, maybe we can get a share of that money. I think I've spoken enough, but I think you see my point is we can agree to disagree, but let's have open minds and see how we can help our people, help our celebration without costing our government any more money. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Anju. Go ahead, Senator Nelson.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Sublan, thank you very much. I love you too. But I just wanted to share something with you. The fight was never against the mayors. That's not what I intended it to be. I specifically asked who ran the casino, and that was the Historic Liberation Society. And then I asked, who are the members of the Historic Liberation Society? I could not get a straight answer. Then, because of the events that started to unfold, it was the mayors that, I'm just recalling these events, okay? I'm not putting blame or anything. It was the mayors that were upset because the casino I was fighting against the casino. So it was never against the mayors. It was against the casino itself, and I've said it many, many times. This is not something personal. I respect all of our mayors. The majority of you are Sainas. So that is not the case.
No, I never took it as you against us.
Okay, I'm glad.
What made us upset, Senator, is because we already started the process. We already accepted the money. The governor already signed the proclamation. They could have turned around and sued us for every penny we got because we didn't fulfill their contract. Luckily, they did not do that, but that's where the upsetting came in, is that you came into our conference room and spoke to the mayors.
I spoke to, there was 3 or 4 of the mayors that were there.
No, but when you made a presentation to the mayors a day before, you left that presentation without even telling us that the next day you were introducing a bill to take away casino from.
But Mr.
We were kind of upset that we just saw you 24 hours ahead and you didn't mention anything.
Okay.
And all of a sudden, we saw it in the media. And that's where Mayor McDonald was upset that you took the rug under his feet. And then this time again, we've already started planning 75th celebration since January. And now we're being told, okay, you want it to go to GVB. I mean, can you give us some advance notice that the things that you want to do, instead of us doing all the work and then all of a sudden, poof, no more?
But my point is this bill was introduced without any knowledge, without any knowledge of me, knowing that this bill was going to be introduced in that swift manner. And just because there are existing gaming or gambling going on, that does not mean that we should introduce another gaming or gambling concession.
No, it doesn't.
Just because everyone else is doing it does not mean that we should be doing it too. Just because there are social harms that exist does not mean that we should introduce other social harms. And I just want to say that it was not intentional to offend anyone with that bill that I introduced. It was a measure that I had to act fast to protect the will of the people and to understand that gambling is an addiction, and there are statistics proving that. And there's data showing that people's families are destroyed. So I was not trying to disrespect anyone in that sense. I'm just...
And
so,
by
you
the
know,
same,
I'm glad
and
that
by the same token, we're not trying to disrespect you by saying that you already had a bill promulgated into law. We congratulate you, and we're not here to tell you, take your bill back or take your law back because we want to have it again. That's not our point. Our point is we have to find something, somehow, to fund liberation. And this is just that small window. We're not asking for a year round. We're not asking for 501 games. We're just asking to be able to have somebody say, hey, I want to operate this. Here's, I don't know, $400,000, $500,000, depending on what their bids are. That would certainly go a long ways towards making the 75th. I mean, the Lieutenant Governor is talking about having 3 stages and having off-island acts and stars and actors all coming. How do we do that? That's going to require money. I mean, we want to fulfill their wishes, but we all know. And what we're trying to say is, while we cut our own budget, we're going to go appropriate somewhere from we don't know where so that we can have the celebration that's going to be, in your own words, a world-class event.
I'm saying that GVB is intended as a tourism event. This is a 75th Liberation Day society.
And it should be world-class too.
Yes, that's exactly what it is. That's exactly what I'm
But Senator, if you gave us $14 million like they gave FESPAC, anybody can have a world-class event.
Absolutely, sir, and I'm still trying to see where all that money went and why we appropriated so much. Okay. But I wasn't there at the time.
Right.
But thank you, Mr. Sablan, and thank you for hearing
still love
me
you.
out.
Okay, the next speaker is Senator Amaris Hilton.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you, Mr. Sablan and mayors and everyone who came out today. I just wanted to ask, I was glad to hear you talk about bringing other people to the table to help you produce these rules and regs, and I wanted to know if you felt that the Mayor's Council did in fact have the resources or the manpower to produce the rules and regulations.
we don't have the resources. That's why we need the outside expertise. I mean, we're short-staffed as it is, and we would welcome experts from the outside to put this thing together.
Okay, okay. And
it's only right.
Okay. Yeah. And then the bill doesn't provide for a timeline for you to submit it to the legislature, but I'm sure you've discussed something amongst yourselves to give yourselves a timeline. Do you have one?
Yeah, yesterday.
Okay.
No, really, I mean, it's coming up. Whether we do it today, 21st is going to be here, whether we like it or not. And we already said the dates. The festivities will start actually at the last week of May in conjunction with GVB, with the Guam Micronesian Island Fair for 1 week. And then June 3rd is actually the start of what we're going to call the Liberation festivities for the whole month of June. It's going to be celebrating the diversity of Guam, where we're going to have all our ethnic residents and different populations come out and show their culture, their ethnicity, their talent. And in July, of course, we'll kick off with July 4th. The military is actually looking at trying to combine their festivities with Liberation so that there's no competition between the two. You know, the same vendors that go down to Polaris Point are the vendors that come from Liberation, so why move for that one day? Let the military come down to us where they're already. So we're already working on that too. So, and we're looking at ending the festivities by the end of July. Okay. Yeah, but yes.
Yesterday.
We want to put these rules and regulations together as soon as we can. So, I mean, even without it being stipulated now in this bill, we're willing to ask the governor or lieutenant governor to appoint some members of their cabinet that are from revenue and tax, and maybe we'll ask the public auditor, and then we'll ask the office of the attorney general to see if they can send some people our way.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. You know, we got like 1, 2, 3, 4 more speakers. Can we forego, because all the things that need to be said on this briefing, maybe we absorbed that already. So if we can forego and end this briefing.
Can I just say?
All right, go
just
ahead. Go ahead, my favorite.
Melissa Savares, Mayor of Derrida and President of the Mayor's Council. Thank you, Mr. Chair and sponsor of this bill, Senator Moylan. Thank you, Senator Shelton and Senator Marsh-Tituno for sticking it out here. Liberation is 60 days. That's all it is. And we open and close. There's a certain time. We're not overnighting. We're not going 24/7. 60 days only, and we end. Secondly is the money that comes in from the bids, that's it. That's all we get. We don't get money generated by the vendors in the middle of the week or what. We only collect the money from the bids, and then the vendors go out and get their licenses. The money that we get from those bids is what hooks up the utilities, what pays somebody to clean up the facilities every day. Peggy Denny's digging through trash. We have to buy those trash bags and help, generate the material that she needs to do that with her team. We pay for of course, trash removal, the utilities, the security, all the needs that we have on the carnival grounds. So after that, it's up to the vendors. They go get their health certificates, sanitary permits, whatever permits, business licenses they need, and they pay their GRT. But that money that comes in from all the bids is what helps us operate Liberation. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, everyone, for your input. The committee will take your testimony under advisement, and we thank everyone for their participation. This committee will continue to receive testimony 10 days after today via email at Senator Pedo at senatorjpterlaje.com. And your testimony, you can send your testimony to my office at Bridge Point Building, Suite 202, 1440 Aspinall Avenue. This information briefing is adjourned. The time now is 8:15, 8:10.